Do you want me to boost up the AC?
A little bit, just because I was like running to get here.
Thank you, good. So, what was the meeting about? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh, so hold on.
Yeah.
I'm just like feeling the. So potential partnership for a new venture. So.
Having to do with dogs or
No,
oh,
no,
okay.
a business.
Oh,
like
okay.
actual profit income, not like red wasting or debits out of my account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, how about that? Can we start with that? What exactly you do, and then we can just take it on from there.
Oh, like what I do for work?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Nope, that's fine.
And then we can dive into the whole dog thing. And
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. Are we recording already?
Yeah, we're
Oh, we are?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready? Welcome to Hoy No Más Podcast with Angel Houseman.
Sharon,
Hi.
do your thing.
I'm ready. Everyone, thank you guys for being here tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, if you don't mind, well, first and foremost, I just want to say welcome back, guys, to another podcast episode of Hoy No Más. We have Sharon here. And
Hello.
yeah, I'm excited to hear your story more than anything because I only see the reels in the posts that you do, but I don't know what it takes. I don't get to see the behind the scenes as much. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more of who you really are and what you do behind the scenes.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question first? Yeah. So what intrigued you to having me as a guest?
One, because I love animals so much. Like Teddy's my everything, right? And I think, to be quite honest with you, even though I'm a lover more than anything, but even when you're on social media and you see somebody getting hurt, right, or falling, and you see those funny videos online, I can take that, right? And I can see somebody getting hurt and be like, okay with it. But when I see an animal getting hurt, I can't take it. It breaks my heart. And you posting and doing everything that you do, pretty much rescuing dogs and having dogs getting adopted from what is it called? Foster? Not foster, right?
So through fosters, but technically through a rescue.
Okay, through a rescue. Mm-hmm. Seeing all of that, that's the reason why I wanted to reach out to you, because I've always wanted to do something like that, but I feel that I get too consumed with my personal life, with work, with doing the podcast, working around the house. So I feel like I'm very limited with time, that I'm not able to do a good deed like that. So I feel like, you know what, this is going to satisfy my heart in a sense, to spread awareness and have somebody like you reach a little bit more eyes out there.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So you asked a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
So I come from kind of the entrepreneur world. I have built 3 businesses since I was 25. Wow. I built 2 moving companies in San Diego. We became the most referred company within the real estate community. I think that's kind of how we run in our circle. We know some mutual colleagues or acquaintances.
Yeah.
And then I opened a franchise. I bought a franchise about a year and a half. And then that's kind of how I self-fund my rescue efforts.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wait, so sorry, I kind of zoned out, but there's so many different things that you do. So you have a franchise. Mm-hmm. Can you say what the franchise is about?
So it's a franchise that's originated in Boston.
Okay.
It's called Maypro. One of my friends came and presented the idea of like purchasing it together. Since I own the moving companies, it was kind of like, let's maximize your contacts. So for me, it was a no-brainer. You get like two pieces of like the pizza. So
okay.
Yeah.
So that, and then you said you have 2 other businesses?
So I have one, because I opened 2 moving companies. Okay. But I have one. Okay. I closed the first one down because he was a terrible business partner.
Okay.
Our morals and principles didn't align. He was more about like money and all this stuff, and I'm more of like integrity. So I just had to part ways, and then I started the second one.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said that you started all of that when you were 25, right? Okay. So because of that, you're able to fund pretty much everything that you post online, which is rescuing dogs, or is it just pure dogs, by the way?
No, so I have independently rescued.
Okay.
That's where my personal funds come in, and then I also donate to rescues, and I also help pay vet bills for like families that need some financial support. They don't want to surrender their animals, but they're sick. So they'll reach out to me, and these are like strangers that I've never met.
No way.
Yeah.
So how do they find you? Just through social media?
Through Instagram, just they see my work that I do. Like I had someone reach out to me in August about a cat. Their cat got attacked. The cat ran out of their home, and a neighbor dog attacked the cat. And so they're like, we're actually struggling. Like, I don't remember verbatim her message, but it was something like, hey, Sharon, I don't know if you remember me. I met you through X, Y, and Z when I was picking up a dog. This happened and we're struggling. Is there anything you can do to help or guide us in the right direction? So, when I can, I finance it. And then what I also do is I ask for donations on Instagram to help cover, any bills. So it takes a village. It's community effort. It's not just one person.
So can we take it back to where all of this started from? You wanting to help out animals? Because I think I've even commented on some of your posts that what you're doing is amazing, right? I've always wanted to do that, and it just, man, like I said, I've come across those videos that animals get hurt, and just it breaks my heart. So seeing somebody do something very positive for an animal or a dog in specific, it just, man, I praise them with everything I can. So
thank you. It's definitely a lot of work. It's actually more work than my actual real job.
wow.
The stress, the anxiety, the lack of sleep. Sometimes we're on the go. Like I just came back from Phoenix last week. We went to pick up 5 dogs from an abuse case from a quote unquote rescue. And we like hardly ate. We traveled, the 5.5 hours it took, and then it ended up taking us 8 hours to drive back and then, get them situated. So sometimes we're running on fumes, and it's a lot. It's mentally, emotional, and even physically draining.
Yeah. And when you say we were, who's a we?
So I mean by any of my colleagues in the rescue community, other people that volunteer. So I'm a volunteer with local rescues, so all over Southern California. I also help a couple rescues out of state, but and then the people that actually run the rescue entity.
Okay. So how did everything
start?
Let's dive into that.
So back during the pandemic, I was following my sister's friend on Instagram. Hi, Brianna. You got me into this. So she was volunteering with a local San Diego rescue called the Cantu Foundation. And I saw her also post the animal pad. So I reached out. I'm like, hey, how can I volunteer? Like, what can I do to help? Back then, I didn't even know you could foster. I didn't even know this was really a thing. I thought that everyone just owned their animals, Okay. I knew of the shelter,
right?
But to me, what my thought was of a shelter was like a safe haven for animals. So, they wait there until they get adopted. But little did I know that's not even the case.
So what is that? What is, because this is news to me.
Yeah. So I'll explain everything in detail. Because for me, I'm all about education first and foremost, like why we do the things we do, why it's so important to spay and neuter, like why it's important, to get your puppies vaccinated, why it's important to quarantine when you have like a new dog, things like that. So anyway, back in the pandemic, I was working from home, And I just felt unfulfilled and like had a lack of purpose. Like my work was great. We had one of the best years. Every year kept getting better and better, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like I just felt like it wasn't feeding my soul. And I've always had like a philanthropy type of like heart, in everything I do. That's why I named my company With Purpose, because, well, besides the name, like the slogan is like With Purpose, because I wanted to use my platform to give back to the community, whether it was, the rescue or, we've also supported nonprofits for veterans. I sponsor an orphanage in Tijuana. I have like 38 kids that I sponsor year round. Whatever it is, like if anyone reaches out, like, Sharon, can you help me? And I'm like, yes, I'll figure it out. Let's do it. So that's kind of how I've always been. And then I reached out to the rescue. The founder, Fatima, who's now my friend, called me. We did a home check. I submitted an application to foster. Long story short, the first time we spoke on the phone was over an hour, and we ended up both crying over the phone about like why we're so passionate about like helping animals.
Wow.
So the whole rescue process is when there is an animal in need. A rescue is usually a 501c3 nonprofit, a registered entity. So then they have their board members, and it's kind of like a business, but without profit, right?
Gotcha.
And then they take the dogs or cats or ducks or horses or any animal I've worked with. And they take them under the rescue. They cover all of the vetting bills. So basic is wellness, vaccines, microchip, spay, neuter, surgeries. And then if there's anything else going on, they cover, a reputable rescue will cover all of that. So if they have cancer, like TVT, that requires chemo every week for about 10 weeks, or surgeries, amputations, or whatever it is, they'll cover that. So fosters are not responsible financially while the dog is under their care. Right.
And so what does the foster do? They just take care or give them a home in the meantime?
So what fostering pretty much is you open your home. It's like you have your own dog without the financial and lifetime commitment to this animal. You give them a loving home. The rescue also provides all of the supplies, bowls, food, treats, toys, beds, crates, playpens. Literally, you don't spend a dime. The rescue provides everything. All we ask is that you open your home and, just love them and have them live with you until they get adopted.
Wow. So let's say for your case, or for the average case, anybody that becomes a foster, do all of those dogs get adopted at one point? 100%.
Yes. So the thing with fostering is we don't know how long the animal is going to be in foster care. The quickest record was like 24 hours.
Wow.
And then we've had dogs like almost a year or over a year. During the pandemic, a lot of animals were getting adopted. Hence, people were working from home. But this year, we've definitely seen a drop in rates of adoptions, as well as donations, monetary donations coming in. So right now, we feel like we're trying to survive because, we don't see the same support that we did like a year or 2 years ago.
What do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think part of it is inflation. I think people are scared of the economy. Fuel was like $7 like 2-3 weeks ago. So I think people are more cautious of any spare money they have. I think they're saving more now than ever. And I think we've hit a plateau where our outreach is like at a standstill. So for me, I think we have to come up with more creative ways to get a better outreach versus like the people that are already in our social media or contacts.
Right.
So for me, like being in this for almost 4 years, I see kind of like the downfalls of rescue, because most rescues focus on the day-to-day, like groundwork, rescuing, vet appointments, care, transporting, vetting applications, all that stuff. And then for me, I think I also see the business side of running an entity, because you still have to run it as a business. Like I suggest that rescues also have a CPA, so that they're able to be careful with the donations and funds, like how to allocate, have like petty cash on the side for emergencies. You can't overcommit in case there's like a $10,000 bill that comes in and then you don't have those funds. It's like, what are you going to do when this dog needs emergency surgery?
Right.
So I see that side, and I think that's where a lot of rescues, like that's kind of their weakness. So what I started to do, that's when I started to help fundraise. And then within last year, one of my colleagues who's a realtor, Cindy, she saw on my Instagram that we were able to get out 40 dogs in one day before they got euthanized that day. They were on this thing called a red list. It doesn't exist anymore. It used to.
What is that exactly?
So the red list was a list of the dogs that were next to be euthanized.
Wow.
So we were able to see what dogs needed to get out. So what we would do is we would take pictures, take videos, we would make reels or posts, and we would network the dogs to be able to get the attention of people that could foster, and then rescues that were willing to take them under their rescue.
So what do you say the first step is getting the dog a foster?
Finding a foster and finding a rescue go hand in hand.
Okay.
A rescue will not pull a dog unless they have a foster commitment.
Okay.
Because if they pull the dog, where's the dog going to go?
Gotcha.
So
finding a person that's willing to become a foster is first step, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now that a rescue that knows that this person is willing to become a foster, then the rescue steps in.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then to foster, you have to submit an application. You fill it out. It asks you questions like, where's the dog going to sleep? How long are you out of your home during the day? Have you owned animals previously? We ask for your vet information to call, make sure you're a responsible pet owner. We ask for references. Like if you were going to apply, we ask for 3 references so that we could get to know who you are as a person.
Wow.
I remember a realtor adopted, and he's like, it's harder to adopt a dog from you guys than to get a home loan.
Yeah.
We also do home checks. So
Okay.
some rescues go to the home in person.
Wow.
And see, just to make sure it's a safe environment. Like if you have a backyard, it's gated, it's fenced, so the dog won't escape.
Yeah.
Also that we're not putting a dog like in a hoarder house. You might love animals, but
Yeah.
if there's trash and piles of stuff, like that's not a good environment for the
Right.
dog.
Yeah.
So that's super important.
I feel like you guys are gonna take Teddy away from me.
No. I see you have a
Yeah.
crate, you have a
Yeah.
backyard, it's fenced.
That's what I was gonna say. Did you see any red flags or
No.
anything? But I know you just kind of like passed by. But
No, you're good.
yeah,
No, you're good. I would approve you.
gotcha. Okay. Oh, I just in this short 20-something minutes, I learned so much that I didn't know. Right, and I think that's the main reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you, because I wanted to spread more awareness, and I learned a couple of things just right now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm also the vice president for a nonprofit called Winston Project. Back to kind of like the weakness of rescues. My friend Cindy, after we pulled those 40 dogs, as I spent the entire day at the shelter, she reached out to me. She had already started to raise funds for rescues. But she's like, I'm ready to take this and scale and help as many animals as we can. So she asked me if I would be the vice president. That was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
So we, through our first gala last year, we raised over $28,000
Wow.
for our first event. And then that's also that's how I help fundraise through the nonprofit. And then we provide grant checks. We just gave two $5,000 checks to two rescues, and then another $1,000 to Rancho Coastal Humane Society. So I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. So when a dog or an animal hits one of those shelters, how long is it? What's the time span that they have to be in the shelter before they get euthanized?
So it's case by case. If a dog comes in sick, it's literally within a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, some dogs are there like 5 days and that are red listed.
What's considered sick though? Like
Runny nose,
really something as wow.
like a dog cold.
Wow, 1 week. Man,
Yeah.
that's sad.
There was a dog that was given 24 hours, I think, last week.
Really? Why?
I don't recall exactly the reason, but I think it was something around, nasal discharge.
That's sad. That's super sad.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
So time is of the essence in this line of work.
like, what's the fault of the dog being sick for somebody to want to kill him, right?
I know. It kills me every day. I sometimes I even dream in my dreams. I'm like flooded with like dogs and me trying to like grab dogs off the street or like, it's once you're like super involved to the degree I am, it's kind of like takes over your life. And the things that I've seen, like I've seen things that I would never wish anyone else to see. I mean, the neglect of dogs sexually abused.
What?
Yes. That are mutilated.
Well, you've seen that personally or through videos?
No, in person.
What?
I've had dogs die in my arms.
Who's doing all these type of things?
Insane people out there.
Wow.
So I've seen just pretty clean dogs that just are surrendered, shelter dogs, and I've also seen, the abuse cases. I've jumped fences.
So, can you talk about that aspect of it? Like, because, and I'll tell you one of the like worst videos, and then we can jump into positive things, right? But when you said right now that you got to see dogs getting, I guess, murdered, right? Attempted murder, right?
Yeah, they've, machete like their neck.
And you got to see that in person.
I didn't see the act of it,
Yeah.
but I've seen the dog as we're rescuing dogs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? Like, just for the sake of it?
Just crazy people. I mean, like there was a shooting yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Why did
Right.
So it's
Yeah, you're right. And to be honest, it's still like freaking. I still don't understand how people see, let's say, for instance, dogs, but all animals, right? They see them as just animals that they don't have feelings or anything, but they are more connected with their feelings and with nature in general more than us human beings. We've been conditioned that we lose that touch to nature, right? And I just can't understand why somebody would want to hurt an animal. Hence why I want to become, at one point, I want to become vegan or vegetarian at least.
I'm working on that too.
Are you really? And for the same reason that
Yeah.
it's just, I can't take an animal getting hurt. It just breaks my heart.
Yeah. So, I mean, people act out, the act of violence. I've seen someone kill a dog because they wanted to get back at their ex-wife, or just out of rage or just pleasure of torturing an animal.
That's insane.
And so when you see that, it's like, how can you turn your back on that? How
Right.
can you not keep advocating? How can you not keep, being hands-on on field? Even something so simple as like transporting a dog from the shelter to the foster,
Right.
So after all that, I think I'm here for the rest of my days.
Yeah. So you plan on doing this till you no longer can?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There's days where, I'm not gonna lie, I've cried a lot. Back in December, I had 22 dogs myself because
At home?
at my house,
What?
there was a case of dumped dogs in Barstow.
Okay.
So I left with the rescue to pick them up. And then the rescue was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to close. I hit my mental point. So I'm like, okay, well, we have the dogs. So I guess I'm going to take them to my house. And then there was some fosters that failed, fosters that backed out, through other rescues that I also help and work with. And everyone is kind of like, everyone knows that, like, if something happens, call Sharon. Like, she's going to help, like, one way or another.
Yeah.
So I ended up with 22, and this was this last December, and I had a lot of mental breakdowns. But we got through, and, I think of them and I'm like, they don't have a voice.
Exactly.
Like, I need to be their voice. I
Right.
need to advocate for them. I need to stand up for them.
Right. And you know what? And that's one of the main reasons I think that I feel so much for animals, because they're so dependent to their owner or to people,
They
right?
didn't choose their life.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I feel like for Teddy, like my dog, he means everything to me. Why? Because when I get home, all he wants to do is just be with me.
Unconditional love.
Definitely.
No judgment.
Yeah.
You can get mad at them and they still love you the same. They don't hold resentment.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you not love another living thing? I think part of the mistreatment in animals has to do with culture differences. I think, like, if I go to Mexico, most dogs are like outside dogs, right?
Yeah.
I think, like, that's the culture that we grew up in. I know I grew up with dogs my whole life, but my parents didn't treat our family dogs the way I treat my dog. Like, that's my baby, just like Teddy with
Right.
you.
Yeah.
But that's why I also don't mind speaking up and educating people and the importance of our work. And even if you, like what you said earlier, you feel like you don't have time or whatever, like, we all say that, like, we all have our lives, we all have our problems, but if you're able to take care of Teddy, we can match you with someone that can be Teddy's companion and friend. If you're able to take care of one, two is not really that much.
Yeah.
And
You bring... go ahead. Sorry.
And even if you can't foster, that's totally fine. It's like, help us spread awareness. Share our post, because you never know. Someone that follows you might fall in love with this dog or might learn about the crisis that's happening.
Yeah.
And they, you open up their eyes and they want to do something and adopt, foster, or, keep donating, keep sharing awareness. And I always say it takes just one person to see something and do something.
Yeah. You know what? I apply that to a lot of different things that I do in my life. That, for instance, before the podcast, we were talking about that a lot of people stop themselves from doing a lot of different things. For instance, starting a podcast. If nobody watches, right? But all it takes is one person to watch it, and for you to touch that person in a positive way, that's my job here is done, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters, right? Like, for instance, is like somebody can say that, but Sharon, you know what? You're not going to change the world, right? But you can change one of those animals' lives, right?
I did a personal development course a couple years ago in Irvine. It's called PSI. It was like 5 of us, 4 realtors and myself, when I was in Not Rep La Jolla. And at the end of the week, they gave us a quote. I don't I'm not quoting it verbatim, but it was pretty much, there was a kid walking along the sand, throwing the sea stars back in the ocean, right? There's an old man that comes. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to save them. He's like, you can't save them all. And then he stops and thinks about it. He's like, that's right, you know? So then he picks up one and throws it into the ocean. And he's like, why did you throw that one? He's like, because at least I could save this one.
You know what? That's a quote that stuck with me my whole life. That's why I shared that. It's crazy that
you
shared
did?
that. Yeah. Well, I shared that one because of that. It's a similar metaphor, right? Because if I'm able to impact just one person, then my job is done, right? Because of that quote. That quote itself is the one that stuck with me my whole life. Because, yeah, maybe you won't impact the whole world, right? But you can make a difference to somebody's life. It's crazy that you said that. And I had forgotten about that. But I always have that same type of metaphor through quotes because I'm a strong believer in that all it takes is just one person to make a difference, a positive difference. And yeah, it just, when you were saying that, I'm like, that was it.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah. So now going back to those, you said 22 dogs that you took for, so what was the end result with those 22 dogs that you took?
They're all adopted. Thank goodness.
How long did you have them at home?
4 months. And then I have one of those dogs left who is actually doing a meet and greet on Saturday to go with a potential foster.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, yeah. But I try to network them as much as I can.
Okay.
I think another problem with rescues is that they don't have the time to make reels, to make posts. Yeah. Because how is someone going to see a dog if you don't, put them on social media, which is like where everyone goes to now. Right. I mean, even in business too, like it's changed to that platform. Yeah. I mean, no one puts their ads on Penny Saver anymore.
Yeah, it's all on social media, right? Yeah. Definitely. So you have one left out of those 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm confusing it. He was dumped on me. Never mind. All of those have been adopted.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Right now that you said it was dumped on you, right? I used to hear about all these stories. I'm pretty sure still happens, unfortunately, but I used to hear a lot back in the days when people would like take their dogs and take a drive far, far away or whatever, and they would just like leave him there behind. And I'm not sure if I heard about this or I saw this or whatever, because this memory has been stuck with me for years, that the dog would chase after their family, after the dog, like
chase after the car.
Yeah.
I say it all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Especially a lot of dogs are getting dumped in Kern Valley out in the fields. Okay. It's like an agricultural town.
Yeah.
So you can just drive and you can see dogs everywhere. I mean, I just saw a post from my friend Amr, who runs Zeppelin and Friends Rescue, that someone sent him a message that a dog and a cat were dumped at the gas station. So he was trying to get them into fosters last night. He's ready to go to sleep, and he's like, well, now I saw it, now I cannot not do something about it.
Yeah. How does all of this impact your personal life? Like, let's say, are you married? Are you in a relationship?
No, I'm not married. Once engaged.
Oh, really? Were you?
Yeah, when I was 25, when I started my first business.
Okay.
Yeah, but then that didn't work out because I invested a lot of my time starting the business.
Okay. Yeah. Has this, what you're currently doing with dogs or animals, has it impacted your life or your relationships?
So I didn't date for over 2 years from my last relationship. I also focused on like self-growth, self-development, and just healing, and it was not a good relationship. And so I'm not one to need someone and to be with someone. I'm real independent. I can go to dinner by myself, sit at the bar, have a drink by myself.
That's dope.
Go home and to my dogs, and I'm totally fine. I think that confidence and self-independence came from starting my own businesses, because it's all the work, it's
Yeah.
You get what you put into. You
Right.
you don't depend on someone to give you a task or a 9 to 5 or a salary or a paycheck. 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So being proactive and productive, I think transferred into my personal life of just like growing tough skin and just being able to do things on my own.
Right.
But it definitely, I think I work more on dog rescue than I do
Yeah.
sometimes with my own work. Like even networking one dog can take me 7 hours to make a plan. From the time someone is like, hey, can you help this dog? So then I spend time trying to search for foster offers on the Instagram post, or I reach out to friends or family or any previous fosters that I am in contact with. And then, I try to raise funds. Like the minimum to save one dog, and this is just wellness check, vaccines, microchip, and then just food and basic supplies is like $500 to $800.
Wow.
That's not like spay neuter surgery. That's not anything else.
Just the basics.
Just the basics, just to get them settled into a home, into a foster home.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's financially a huge responsibility. I've independently rescued, and I've covered all of that. And then once the dog is ready to be adopted and they're in a foster home, then I'll reach out to one of my rescue partners so that the actual contract of the adoption is through a rescue, because I'm not a 501c3, but I am responsible like if I was.
Gotcha. And you know what? Maybe I mean I'm not too familiar with your personal life, right? But maybe that's why God has blessed you with those type of businesses, that you're able to do such good deeds for animals, right? Do you feel like you have been blessed in order for you to have so much time, or what are your thoughts with that? I'm sure there's a lot of struggles.
Yes. So it's kind of a sore subject for me right now.
Okay.
To be completely honest, I'm going through some hardships with my business partner.
Okay.
And so I'm always honest and forward and with integrity in my principles. And I'm kind of at a crossroad right now of like what I'm going to do moving forward. Up to now, yes, definitely blessed that I was able to do as much as I did. I mean, he also was a huge part when I started fostering. We have spent insane amount of money over the last 4 years in donations. So I'm trying to figure out how to separate and then continue my work, because this is super important to me.
Okay. But no matter what, you're going to continue doing.
100%.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. People always ask me, like, were you always like this? Or like, you're so, like, I get messages all the time. Like, I think what you said, like, thank you for the amazing work, or like you inspired me, or like you're an angel, or this and that. And I don't do it for that. And I used to not share what I did until the last year, because I always did things because it came from my heart and my soul.
Right.
Not for attention, not for a clap, not for, a comment. But what I realized is the power of social media with business, and how it also helps network the dogs.
Yeah.
And so, like, my brand and my reputation and my business are everything. Like, when someone thinks of Sharon, or like when someone thinks of moving, they don't think of like the name of my company. They think of, call Sharon, or I'm going to call Sharon, or I'm going to refer you Sharon, because they know I've established myself pretty well, over the 7+ years that I've done. I've owned moving companies. And I think too with rescue, I think your integrity is everything, and especially when there's a monetary transaction. people want to see you being transparent and show receipts and all that. And when someone hands me $5, $50, $100, whatever, like because I want to, I always show like everything that I get, I always give it to the animal. So if it's donated directly through me, or I'll put like the rescue's info so it gets funneled through there. But your integrity is everything.
Definitely.
With everything you do, whether it's rescuing a dog or your brand, your business.
Yeah. Wow. So everything right now just so you have these fosters, right? These dogs that you've had fosters, but do you have a dog of your own?
Yes, I have Ziggy.
Okay.
He was my foster 2 years ago.
Okay.
Cantu Foundation reached out to me and said, hey, can you pick up this dog in El Cajon?
Yeah.
He's going to get euthanized at 3 p.m. by his owners. He's a French bulldog. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a black little French bulldog.
Is that the one that had like a wheelchair? Oh, okay. So that's your personal dog.
I adopted him a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Why Ziggy?
Why did I adopt Ziggy?
Because you've ran into so many different other dogs.
Yeah, after fostering like the first 20, I wanted to adopt all of them. But then after I realized that I could be more of service fostering than adopting a dog, because once I started adopting, like I would hit a limit,
right?
My capacity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And with fostering, you're kind of like their transition period before they get adopted, because a lot of these dogs have a ton of trauma or medical issues, and there's not a lot of people that are willing to sacrifice their time. Sometimes, every time I fostered their rescue, I've never asked them for anything. I've independently funded that foster. I don't ask for, reimbursements, or I don't get supplies that they have. I'm like, use it for the next dog. I can take care of it. So for that, I'm really grateful that I've had that privilege of, doing that. I understand that not everyone does. And so therefore, like, I don't want to take away from someone that can't. Why Ziggy is because he's paralyzed. He was paralyzed, and he's a lot of work. And not only that, but he's incontinent. So he can't control his bowel movement or peeing. So he's a diaper baby. So I've had to learn how to express his bladder so he doesn't pee everywhere, as well as like change his diapers constantly. Wow. I've also learned to stimulate him to poop, so I can control when he poops so he doesn't poop everywhere. And, I've taken him to therapy. Wow. We did like hydrotherapy, I think laser and heat. I learned how to like do stretches at home and kind of do therapy at home. I have a device that it's like little patches and they send shockwaves. So then I also do that at home for him. And after receiving like 3 or 4 applications, some backed out, and then some were just not adequate to take care of him. And so Siggy is like, who's going to adopt him? Who's going to take care of him the way I have?
Right.
Who's not going to get upset that he, and he also has a really sensitive stomach. So if he eats anything that upsets the stomach, it's like diarrhea for a couple days.
Gotcha.
So who's going to want to clean up a mess? And I've learned to control everything, and we have our processing systems. Right. When I feed him and I give him water, there's a time that I let him chill, hang out, like Teddy in the crate right now. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, after an hour, and depending on what it is, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Yeah. Time to go to the bathroom. And obviously he requires more baths or showers than regular, walking dogs. And happy to say that after 2 years, he just started walking. I
seen that. He just posted that, right? Wow, that's beautiful.
He just took his first walk to the park without his wheelchair.
Wow.
I still can't believe it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the second dog I've gotten to walk again.
Wow.
The first dog we did stem cell therapy.
That's crazy. Man, it's just amazing how much you do like for these animals, for these beings. Like I know maybe you haven't even heard of this, but like my mind was kept on like for the people that have seen my podcast, I always preach a lot about ayahuasca. But I'm like, I wonder if what type of messages you would receive through ayahuasca. Have you even heard of
I
ayahuasca?
haven't, but I heard of it through an agent. Kind of curious.
Like I don't really want to dive into it too much just because it's like that's a whole freaking topic, right? But in a short span, I guess it's a tea, it's a brew that you take, and this was, I guess, originated through the Amazon. And then the plants themselves told the shamans to mix these two plants in order to make this brew. Once you take this brew, you have to do it with a shaman. And through this brew, through this ceremony, it's about 6 hours. But through these 6 hours, you're receiving so many different messages. It depends. A lot of people receive a lot of messages. A lot of people actually just fall asleep. Other people just purge a lot, like throw up, right? I've received messages. My girl has received so many different messages about her past, her present, her future. There's people that like you literally communicate with Mother Ayahuasca, I guess Mother Nature. And a lot of different people have even cured themselves from cancer, from like she got surgery through ayahuasca, like these alien beings or these beings like cured her. As weird as it sounds, but it's just that you're tapping into another realm that we physically can't see in our day-to-day lives, right? But I would love to hear what type of messages you receive because you're such a pure soul, right? For you to be doing all these amazing things to animals, to a being that can't do anything for themselves, right? Man, I wonder what you would receive, and it's just you would heal a lot from any traumas that you might have encountered. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, he mentioned that it was life-changing.
It is.
And he did it in Peru. Like he traveled there.
We do it here locally.
Oh, you do?
Locally. So it's like if you ever interested, it's locally.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
So one of the main reasons that I did this podcast was to spread awareness for that, right? I didn't want it to be in that form, but I feel like I have that. I guess because it was such a positive thing in my life and for other people, I want to share it with more and more people, similar to the reason why I wanted to have you onto the podcast, because I've always wanted to help animals. So at least I'm doing a little bit, like putting my grain of salt into trying to help those animals, right? And having more people maybe be aware that there's fostering, maybe there's other ways that they can help out.
I say even if you can't, takes 2 seconds to share a post.
Yeah.
Post it on your story.
Yeah.
Like I said, it takes one person to see something and do something about it.
Yeah, I'm going to commit to that. I'm going to help out.
Even if you donate $5 a month, that $5, covers part of a vaccine or, what I really want to focus on next is the importance of spay and neutering. I don't know if you know Jax Houseman. She's an agent.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so her and I sponsored a spay neuter campaign in Ensenada last September. And we were able to help like 157 cats and dogs.
I saw that.
Yeah, so we partnered with a local nonprofit organization down there. And we were like, no one's going to show up. Like we were scared and and we're like, okay, let's see how it goes. And part of why we did it in Mexico was one, obviously because of the cost difference of doing it there than here. She had worked with that nonprofit before. And so we wanted to kind of learn how to organize, educate ourselves on doing those types of campaigns. I think we got there at like 9:00, and the line was like absurd. It was like all around the building, through the parking lot and around.
Yeah.
They told us that they were lining up since 3 a.m.
Yeah. So I think you have a little bit of footage into that, right?
I do. I have
Okay.
a reel about it.
Okay, so I just recently, so now since I have the third camera, I like to kind of like do reaction videos. So I wanted to pull up like 2-3 videos from your Instagram to kind of showcase maybe a 1 or 2 or 3 reels from you. That way you can give a little bit more of a background instead of just of a reel, right? So we'll do that, right?
Good.
Is there something that you wanted to share before we go into that?
No, I think actually, yes. I know that sometimes trying to go into new territory is scary. Like when I first started working with shelters, I was like petrified. I wasn't scared of the shelter, but I was intimidated of going in and trying to figure out like how things work.
Yeah.
I think, it's okay to feel like intimidated that you don't have the knowledge or resources to do something. And it doesn't have to be just rescue, but I think it's important to just reach out to someone and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'm interested in helping. Can you mentor me or take me under your wing? Or can you guide me in the right direction of like whatever it is? Like if you want to foster, like I'll connect you with the rescue that is near your city, or, even just in business too. I've had so many people reach out to me, asking me questions. And sometimes I even get people saying like, oh, I didn't think you were going to answer. I'm like, why wouldn't I? I'm a normal person like everyone else.
Yeah.
And I love sharing like what I've learned. And, even like I always like, even my employees, I'm like, use me as your foundation. Like I'm your stepping stone to your next level. Like I don't want you here for 5 years.
Yeah.
Take all, the 5 steps I took and let me give you the instructions so you can start at the 5 steps where, I struggled the most, so that you can fast forward and skip.
Right.
And so if anyone wants to reach out and how to get involved or just anything in general, like I'm more than willing to always listen and
Nice.
whatever advice I can give.
That's good. I wonder where all of that comes from, that you just want to help.
Yeah. So I have this vivid memory when I was 5 years old. We used to go to Mexico every summer. And I wrote this on my college essay. That's why. And I remember it so in detail. I was 5 years old. I don't even think my mother knows I still remember this. And a lot of my family really doesn't know the work that I do.
Really?
Yeah.
But
They know, but I don't think they know the extent.
Okay.
So I was 5 years old. I was playing outside with my cousins, and my mom came out to check on us, and she saw, those ladies they call Marias?
Like
Mexico.
like maids?
No, they call them Marias. They're like how they're dressed, kind of like indigenous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she was walking with a little kid, and she had one wrapped in like a scarf or something, and was carrying him on her back, and the little boy was barefoot. So my mom grabbed me, took me inside the house, sat me on the couch, took my tennis shoes off, chased the woman down the street, and I don't even think she spoke to the lady. All I saw was her running and grabbing the son and sitting him on the sidewalk and putting my tennis shoes on him.
Oh.
And then I remember when my mom came back, I started crying like a brat. I'm like, my shoes, my tennis shoes. How dare you take my tennis shoes, And I remember verbatim, and I don't want to cry, but I remember my mom saying, one day you'll remember this and you're going to know that you're so blessed and so lucky. She's like, I promise you I'm going to buy you those tennis shoes when we get back home.
Yeah.
But one day you'll understand like this act and how you're so fortunate, and this potentially like changed something in his life.
Oh.
And so I think I grew up with that my whole life.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Man, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. It's just it's a reminder, right? That at times I'm sure we deal with that on our day-to-day lives, right? That at times we want more and more, and we just want all these different physical things, but
Tangible things that
yeah,
don't mean anything.
they don't mean anything. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, when I started to make, money, for a short time, I was like, oh my gosh, purse, shoes, this, that. But it didn't do anything for me. Like, and I think once I experienced a little bit of that, I'm like, this is not me. Like, and so I was just like, no, that's when I redirected my shift and like my, trying to like do things that like feed my soul.
Right.
And that have purpose and how I can impact, you know, in a positive way. If I can do something to help someone, or if I can inspire someone to do something, then what you said earlier, then I did my job being here on earth.
Trust me. I mean, this is the first time we meet in person, but everything that I've seen through your Instagram, you're already doing that. You've already surpassed all of that. And you just wanting to continue doing that for the rest of your life, it's amazing. But to have that sense that you've already accomplished that dream of yours, you're already doing that dream.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I'm so critical on myself. I feel like sometimes I don't do enough, and people are like, oh my gosh, you do way more than the person to your right. But I just like, it's just, I always say like, it doesn't take anything to do something good.
yeah.
Open the door for someone, say hello. You never know when, you're going to impact someone. I was sitting at the bar once, and then I said hi to the guy next to me and just started chatting with him. And he said, thank you for noticing me.
Yeah.
He was going to commit suicide that day.
Wow.
And so, I think if more people just did something, like it would be a much better place.
Yeah. I think I forgot where I was talking about this. I was talking to somebody about this, that times how that in the mornings or whatnot, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good, thank you. All right. But it's meaningless, right? Because nobody really knows. Seriously, how are you doing today? Do you need anything? Do you need to talk about this?
How are you? But like, how really are you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, let's talk, man. Like, I know life is hard, but it's just the real, I guess, sense of the word of like, hey, how are you doing today? Like, it lost its meaning in a sense, right?
There's a loss of humanity.
Big time. Yeah, big time. Especially, I'm not sure if it has to do with social media or whatnot, but even at times when serious things happen and you see it on social media, a lot of people are losing that sense of the reality with it. They just see it as post or
connection, human to human connection.
Yeah, big time. So, I mean, what you're doing is amazing because it does take a lot of physical work to be out in the field,
I've crawled under houses and trash. Like,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay.
I truly love it.
And you can tell, honestly, yeah. Babe, before we jump into the reaction to some of her posts, is there something that you have question, anything that we haven't touched on?
No.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right, let's
Your camera's still good, right?
yeah, everything's good. So I guess I'll just pull up, like, there was two. I remember there was one. No, there was a few that when I was watching your post, and this is something I wanted to like mention at the beginning, that going through your social media, it's a bittersweet, right? Because it's so sad, the reality of things. So at times I try to look away because it's so sad. But at the same time, it's like if you look away, you're disregarding being able to help a dog, right? An animal. So it's a bittersweet for sure. But then I do see a lot of your reels posting that happy ending of what the turnout was for this animal, and it just brings a lot of joy into my heart. So
I try to balance it.
Yeah, yeah. Because you have to show the reality of it, right? If not, people are not going to be aware of it. So, oh man, I feel good that we're doing this podcast because it's something that I wanted to do, and at one point I want to contribute a little bit more, especially for dogs, but for animals and in general. In general,
Come to our gala.
when is that taking place?
I will give you all the information. So we're starting to plan it. I would love for you guys to be a part of it, and any event that we have. Oh, we have an event on Sunday. It's a costume contest for dogs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's $10 to enter. It's at the dog park in Little Italy, and 100% of the funds go back to the dogs.
Okay, and you said it's in Little Italy.
I think I invited you.
Oh, that's the one you sent
That's
out.
one, yeah.
Okay, let's see. For some reason, it's not. Let me. I'm still kind of getting used to this, so.
No, you're good. Do you edit, or is it all straightforward?
I do. I like to leave some parts just
Organic.
Organic. It's some things that if there's like no. So some things like, for instance, this I'll probably just edit.
Like a awkward silence.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I add?
But you know what? Even some of those silences at times it's dope because you get to see like, oh, okay, they paused because of this, and at least I like to see the behind the scenes or what are they doing? You know what I mean? So let's see.
Cut me crying. That's kidding. I have already cried too much.
I think that's what it was.
I also like to be vulnerable, and I think I do that more in my stories than my posts. But like the people that follow me know like my work, because there's so much emotion behind it all, and it's like I want people to understand like the impact of our work, and I mean people have seen me ugly cry, and I'm like, it's for it's just so that they can feel like they're hurt, because when I see they're hurt, I feel they're hurt. And I don't think people connect that through the screen, but I think people connect it more when you see it from a human. And then it gives that extra layer of like connection. And so, I mean, I put myself out there sometimes. I'm like, this dog, like.
Yeah, and you have to be, because you have to be vulnerable at the end of the day, because it's the true feelings that are coming from the work that you do. And like even earlier before you came, I was trying to dig into kind of go back into your social media. yeah. And some of them are just like, and for some reason I went back to the ones I think either I liked or commented, and it still touched me because it was like, I just felt the message. For instance, it was this one. Well, this is one of them, right? But where is it at?
Those are my kids.
This one right here.
Oh, Marley.
Yeah. So this one, hey, I'll read what he posted, right? So, to the people that abandoned and failed this poor girl, did you know that volunteers called her Happy Tail? Because that's exactly what she was, a happy tail wagging her baby hippo.
Wagging baby hippo.
Oh, wagging baby hippo. She wagged her tail so much that she kept hurting in her kennel, which is why it's bandaged up. Did you know that what she was brought into on December 2nd, or did I read it wrong?
So today marks her 18th.
Yeah.
How long was she out on the streets before animal control took her in? Did you kick her out of your home? Did you drive off and dump her on the street? Or did she escape the house? If she did, 18 long and cold days have passed by and have not picked her up. So makes it clear you failed her and abandoned her. Well, I met her for the first time yesterday, and seeing her tremble nonstop completely shattered me. She could hardly open her eyes at my call. So I did a little research, and I asked if anyone else knew of her. And to my luck, someone else had her Happy Tail video. That was the dog that came in, and this is the dog that sits in a cold cement floor with nonstop barking day and night. This is a dog that is no longer happy and is now shutting down. This is her death sentence you signed off the moment you gave up on her. And now, if you can scroll, because I can't see.
Yep.
And now here I am trying to save her life, Marley. Promise to do everything in my power to get you out. I love you. Marley, and her ID number.
When you said that she's now shutting down after being such a...
That was her original, and that was the day I met her.
Wow.
She was trembling. You could see her tremble. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, look at...
The difference.
Like, life has... Like, people have failed her. Like, that's the part that it got to me so much, because it's like people shut down on her, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when I post like stories like that, I try to kind of, when I write from my heart. So if you notice how I read it, it's how I think of it in my mind. It's the story that I want people to see, you know, and to see her story. So I do my best to put it in words to share her story so that people can see what I see in person. Oh.
Did she get adopted?
She did. So within 24 hours, I found a foster and a rescue. I stayed up and I had a couple glasses of wine so I could research and scroll through foster offers, and finally found one. I vetted the foster. She was, you know, after me processing her response and her home check, then I presented the foster to the rescue, and then I went to pick her up, and then I actually have a video the day I picked her up.
Let's see.
Which would be the one on the left of her.
This one?
Yeah. Oh, the other one.
Oops, sorry. Oh, for some reason it's taking me to that one. It's the one on the left, right?
Yeah, the one with the...
It's taking me
Maybe
to that
scroll...
one.
Can you scroll up?
Is it this one?
Oh, no. It is that one.
Oh, it is that
Yeah,
one?
it is. Oh, yeah.
I met Marley yesterday
I did a
morning,
voiceover.
and seeing her tremble nonstop completely broke my heart. I couldn't get her out of my head, and I promised her I would do everything to get her out. 24 hours later, here we are, hugging each other and celebrating her freedom walk.
That's her exiting the
Baby
shelter.
girl, I promised I would come for you,
Wow.
and I'm here. We're not giving up, and just know that this is the start of your new life, and there's so many people that love you already.
Wow.
And I promise you, you will never suffer again.
That's me.
Wow.
We love you, Marley.
Look, you guys brought her life back.
Yeah, she's adopted, and I actually just got a picture from her last week. They went camping.
No
so it's our first camping
way.
trip.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was, the end of last year?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so even we're in days where we feel like giving up, that's what keeps us going.
And this is, so people can see that. This is your dog, Ziggy, right? Mm-hmm. There we go.
Said we did a thing.
Oh, sorry.
I'll read. We did a thing today. Ziggy took his first walk without his wheelchair.
Wow.
After fostering him for over a year, he needed a last name and a family to call his own, my family. I will never forget the day I picked him up from his owners who surrendered him. And something about, they said, will you let me know if he makes it? I'm like, he's paralyzed. He's not dying. What do you mean if he makes it?
Yeah.
I wanted to say like, F you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You failed him.
Right.
His whole back was raw. It was bleeding. He was so like bony, skinny. He had the worst diarrhea I've ever dealt with. And just open wounds. And they're like, oh, it just started happening. I'm like, no, that's like months of him just sitting in a crate, probably in his poop and urine. And because it's an inconvenience to you, now you want to kill him. Had we not stepped up, me and the rescue, like he would have been dead that day.
Yeah, and just so people can see the event that you guys hosted in Ensenada, right?
Yes.
so people can actually see the visual. I think I seen it earlier.
It's
Th-
this one.
this one, right?
Yeah. So those are all the cats and dogs we were able to spay neuter in one day. We had 8 vets, and I think it was like 157. I think it says on the description.
So how do you guys know how old they are? Like if you guys just rescued them off from the street, how do you?
By their teeth. That was the first cat that woke up, the like tan one. That one. It was our first patient that woke up.
Wow. What were people saying?
They were just like crying and hugging us and thanking us. And like, you know, just saying, gracias a Dios por ustedes, lo que están haciendo, like an act of kindness. And like, this helps so much. And they're like, will you do more? And I'm like, we'll try.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I would love to. I would do one every weekend if I was a millionaire, you know. But, and actually over there, it's only $30.
Wow. That's crazy.
So we did 157 or 100 something. 57 cats and 67 dogs, I think.
Well, I guess going back to what you were saying about what your goal is and all that, right? About impacting somebody's life. Well, you can see my reaction to it. Like, just seeing your pose is just like, man, I just love animals so much. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets impacted in a positive way, right? So from my end, I just want to say thank you for doing this and for you wanting to continue doing this. Like I said, for me, Teddy is everything, right? And I can feel like I can only imagine like dogs that are not receiving that love because a human being felt them, and it just breaks my heart.
Yeah. I mean, and even dogs that are born in the street that have never felt a warm place.
Yeah.
A hug from a human, a warm meal, or like, you know, a bath, you know, feeling clean and not covered in ticks and fleas. Like, it truly keeps me up at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Shot.
Yeah. Seriously. Wow. Is there one last thing you would want to say? If somebody wants to help out, how can they contribute to you? That way, if somebody's interested in helping you out or whatever you would want to say, last message to the people.
You can always just follow me on Instagram. That's pretty much where the platform I use. And it's Sharon _moves_SD of the moving company. Oh, it used to be like about work, and now it's about.
All right. And you know what? I was going to ask you why moves, but now it makes sense, right? I learned something new. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sharon _moves_SD.
Okay. So people can reach out to you.
Yep. Yeah, they can reach out, send me a DM. I usually respond in 24 hours unless I'm working on a case and I'm on field. But I try to be as responsive as I can be. Yeah. And then also, too, like if you want to foster, time is of the essence because these dogs have a ticking deadline and, you know, someone finally is like, I'll foster, and then we check and the dog's already dead. Wow. So it's like, don't wait. Yeah. Just reach out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Babe, anything else? You're good? Well, once again, Sharon, thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy. You're out there rescuing animals. We have a full-on business. And just I want to say thank you once again for everything that you do, for taking the time here. Hopefully, like we said earlier, hopefully at least one person gets impacted in a positive way just by watching this podcast or the reels that I'm going to clip up. Mm-hmm. And just continue spreading awareness. And this was a very, very good podcast that I've been wanting to do for a while. I think this was one of my purposes, that if I'm able to help in one way or another, you know, and I feel like I'm starting to do that, at least when it comes down to this, and hopefully I can get a little bit more involved with that.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and congratulations for taking the initiative to start your podcast. I know it's not easy, so I commend you for actually following your dreams.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Like I always like to say, it's a greater risk and not taking a risk. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Touch my heart. Yeah. Oh man. It's incredible that there's people like yourself that are actually doing this type of thing on a daily basis. It's just incredible.
Every day. Even if I don't post something, I'm working on it.